Hello, I am Ana Patricia from Punta Pacifica Realty TV. Welcome to another episode of our channel. I am here today with Patrizia Pinzon from Arco Properties and Conservatorio. Hi, Patrizia.
Hi, how are you? This is the Patricia episode.
Exactly.
PPP Panama, Patricia Panama.
It is. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your story.
Thank you for having me. I always love
It's my
collaborating
pleasure.
with brokers. Well, we are Casco Viejo specialists. We started back in 2005. So we've been developing and being a full brokerage for historic cities. So anything you want, from developing a building to commercial space to residential. So yes, that's what we actually live there.
Oh.
So we're part of the community. That's one of the things that sets us
Okay.
apart, is that we're there. It's not just my office space. I literally just cross the street and I go home. I mean, it's a
I do
very
the same, you know? We are lucky.
Yes, we're
We are
lucky.
I
And
do the
that's
same in Punta
best.
Pacifica.
It's the best. You get to know everything.
Yes.
So I often tell my clients, ask me how life is. Actually, back in 2005 when we started, there wasn't any windows to the world on how it was to live there. So we were
Okay.
one of the first websites in English and in Spanish to show what it was to live there.
Yeah.
So I'm used to people asking anything and everything, from where I walk my dog to,
Everything.
lifestyle,
Everything.
exercise. So go ahead.
For those who don't know, what is Casco Viejo? Where is located?
That's a good question, because people get confused, because Panama has two historic cities. You have Panama Viejo and you have Casco Viejo. They are in the same World Heritage Site. That's the other thing. People don't know this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They're on the same basket. And the reason is the history. Because Panama Viejo it was the first city of Panama. That's the one that got attacked and it had to move. And it moved to where Casco is. So in a way, you visit Panama Viejo and it's an archaeological site. It's a
Yes.
dead city. But in Casco, then that city is alive. And in fact, that's where the Republic really took over.
Yeah.
And then everything that you see as Panama City, it kind of sprouted in a way from that. So it's a little comical, as we say. It's a little funny because you have Panama Viejo, and then you see that coast, and you have Paitilla in the middle. Like, you have different points until you get to the peninsula of Casco. They had to move everything by mule.
Wow.
It took basically 3 years, moving the whole city all the way to Casco.
Big work.
I would have stopped at Paitilla. Like, why we didn't stop in Paitilla? Like, we should have stopped in Paitilla and not take 3 years. But it was the peninsula where Casco is the one that had the conditions, because it had access to fresh water. It has a tide that goes all the way back and all the way up, so it was
Okay.
easy to defend.
Oh.
So there's certain conditions of the site where people say, okay, el sitio del Ancón. And that's where Casco Viejo, or at the time, Panama City, was the second foundation, so 1673.
Wow. Tell me about some of the highlighted buildings you have built.
Wow, we have done a little bit of everything.
I know.
We're eclectic. We're an eclectic bunch. People will attest to that. It's funny because we haven't really put any plaques on anything we've done. So we're kind of like underground. But for example, we built the first hotel ever in Casco. I mean, before that, you kind of had to stay at someone's home, usually mine. So eventually we were like, no, we need a hotel.
We need a hotel.
So there was Canal House, and it had 3 rooms. And that was like, wow, and it got in every magazine. Travel and Leisure came. I mean, it was fantastic. And then we doubled our capacity with the second hotel ever in Casco Viejo. I mean, from 3 rooms to 6. Those were the days, the pioneering days.
Improving little by little.
We doubled our capacity. So it's all about the language.
Yeah.
So that was Las Clementines. And it's still there today, which is a beautiful hotel with 6 apartments. And then we said, okay, we've got this. We're going to do the third one. And then we created American Trade. We built it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And it was the first time that Casco Viejo had a proper events room.
Yes.
Where you could host
all the
weddings.
weddings.
It had like a jazz,
Yes.
area, so it was that vision, and now it was 50 rooms. So it started really sprouting that, critical mass that would start to visit Casco Viejo, and that was basically 2013.
Wow.
So it feels now like a little bit of like grandfather to Compañía, Sofitel, and so many others that are coming. But that was the journey.
Wow, it's a journey.
Yes.
What is your current project in Casco Viejo?
Oh my God. We work on like the most expensive product in the city and the most affordable one at the same time. And all in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
So right now we're with Santa Familia, which is really our crown jewel.
Yes, it's impressive.
Santa Familia, I tell people, it took us over 14 years to put that together.
Wow.
So talk about passion and talk about commitment. Yeah. We lived it. We're bonding with, Santa Familia. But it's a unique thing. It will never happen again. The combination of factors, the historical categories that made it happen, the design, the fact that you have the underground parking, the elevators,
the moment pool. You enter, you say, wow.
The garden, just the garden, the thought that went into the garden. Most people walk into the garden and they see this jungle, and they forget that the garden is floating over the parking lot. And those are full-grown plants and palms and all that. We have everything there from guayacanes to cacao to miracle fruit. So it's an experience that will change with seasons.
Exactly.
So it's a building that is alive.
Okay.
We want that to be, it's 55 apartments. We call that the 56th neighbor. So the garden itself is your neighbor,
Okay, tell me about the incentive that Casco offers for investors.
Well, the good news is that we have them. The bad news is that they're going away, so buy now.
No? So this is the time.
Now, and only for. No, I'm serious. Don't wait. Anything that delivers with occupation permit this year has access to something called the Casco Viejo law, the tax incentive. So the largest one is that property would not have property taxes for 30 years.
30 years?
30 years. Always starting from occupation permit. And this is something to know in any property in Casco Viejo. Every single property has an occupation permit. There were different laws at different times. So depending on the year, they will have tax incentives that started on that year. So even on resales, I will be able to tell you, such and such building, that's probably from this year, that was that law, so you have X left.
Okay.
So it will be a little bit of mathematics, but right now, anything that's occupation permit this year has the 30-year exemption.
Okay.
And you can finance it with a special mortgage. So for example, and even with foreigners, so my best case scenario is the half and half. So the foreign puts 50% equity and finances the other half. The way this works is that it would be, let's say that the rate is at 7%.
Okay.
Let's say that you have a FESI, so let's call that 8. So Casco Viejo takes 3 points below. And it would be for 20 years.
Very good to know.
So that's an advantage.
Yes.
And I know, many clients have taken that advantage.
Of course.
And it's going away
It's important.
this year.
It's important for the returns. It's everything.
You don't have to use all the cash.
Yeah. What about AirBNB program? Is allowed in Casco Viejo?
Casco Viejo is the same as the rest of the city. So we don't have a special, space for Casco Viejo to be Airbnb friendly. So you have the same law as everybody, those 45 days or over. Some condos have banned it. Some condos are absolutely not friendly to the idea because they're more residents. They really do want to keep control of who comes in and who comes out. So Santa Familia, for example, wouldn't be that Airbnb friendly property. However, Clementinas is. So if somebody says, well, I want something where I can use it when I'm here, but rent it when I'm not, Clementinas would be fantastic because it's already under a hotel operation. So you also get the licenses. Exactly. So you're not a fly-by-night, you're not doing it illegally, you're not upsetting the neighbors. You just go and it's going to be a great deal.
Tell me about the amenities, about the lifestyle that Casco offers.
It's a walkable community. It's a community, which is, for me, is like the top of the pyramid. But you can, let's give you a picture of my normal day. Like, I go to the gym walking. If I decide to run, I go running. I don't have a bicycle, but there's plenty of neighbors that do. So they have all these routes and all that. You have, everything is there. It's a pueblito. So you have the bank, you have the pharmacy.
Church, you have the church.
You have like 7 churches, you know. I mean, you have the wine store, you have your favorite coffee place or places.
A big supermarket.
You have a supermarket, but you know what we actually enjoy? We enjoy going to the fruit and fish market that is right at the entrance.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who provides fish straight from the boat. You just call him, it's like, I need tuna. And you know, he's on your door.
And you know what? I feel very proud when I talk with foreigners because they always mention about how clean is the market. And I feel very proud about that.
Well, the market was restored, was remodeled years ago.
Yeah.
And it's very well run. They are doing a fantastic job. The fruit and vegetable market was probably the one that got restored.
San Felipe Neri.
The San Felipe Neri, exactly. The other thing is that we have theaters. So there's a lot of cultural activity. I mean, even me living there, I don't go to everything. And I don't go to everything. I get invited. And I don't go to everything. Yesterday I went to 2 events. And I was like running from one place to the other.
Wow. So you can have like a very nice lifestyle because you can choose if you want to be very active or not.
You make friends easily. Again, it's a community. If you want to do volunteering, it's easy. If you want to meet people, it's easy. You want to learn chess, call my mother-in-law. It's easy.
What is coming in Casco?
Oh, You know, it's funny because most of these elements, Casco is like this iceberg where most of the work is underground. You don't see it. By the time you see it, it already was on the work 5 or even 6 years before that. I find it fun because now that you have Sofitel and you have Compañía and Santa Familia, they were on the works for over, you know, at least in my case, 14 years.
Yes.
Some of them were 6 years, 5 years. So everybody's like, oh, there are all these new stuff. It's like, no, we've been working for that like for a while. So now all those components of value are coming to, you know, to fruition. There is a 4th element, which is the interconnection with Amador.
Okay.
So right now you've noticed they're building that whole bridge and that is connecting to what essentially is the end of Cinta Costera 3.
Okay.
By Chorrillo on the way to Amador. So what they're doing is connecting the Centro de Convenciones to its most natural, you know, playground.
Yes. Wow.
So now imagine you're going to have a Centro de Convenciones with capacity for 30,000 people.
Yes.
You know, and easy access to culture and all the amenities that Casco Viejo have, hotels.
No. As a Panamanian, I have to say Casco is one of the most beautiful areas in Panama.
Now, one thing most people don't know and Panamanians don't realize is that Casco is not only San Felipe, it's also a portion of Santa Ana. So that's where the future is. If you ask me what I'm excited now that we're delivering Santa Familia, what's the next step is Santa Ana. So there we are about to deliver La Quince, which has a very interesting portfolio of commercial spaces with, you know, tax incentives and all of that, but also working in synergy. And Santa Ana is just pushing hard, and you'll see right now, Santa Ana is the base of that iceberg. And again, I'm telling people Santa Ana, because when the iceberg comes out, they're going to be like, ah! It's like, I told you. So come early. Santa Ana is the next step.
It's coming.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you so much for inviting me
today.
Yes, this is
fun. It was a pleasure.
The next one in my office.
And I'm sure there is more questions about Casco Viejo. Please let us know in the comments and we will be answering you as soon as we can.
And if you like this video, please subscribe.
And don't miss our next episode.